wisdom is applying the knowledge that you have.
Yes.
And there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge, right? So
Sure,
it's like,
sure.
hey, I know that short key command to do that thing on Pro Tools, or I know how to do that on this plugin or something like that. And so there's two types of people that enter the studio in the studio environment. And when I would see them work with Jimmy or anybody else, there's that guy who knows the knowledge. He's like, oh, don't you know you could just do that and do that, and nobody told him. You know, they're speaking just out of like, oh, I'm going to impress them with my knowledge of this and that, and don't know and not apply wisdom and when to speak.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So they're like, oh, you should do this or you should do that, and like, see, I told you. And then the guy, Jimmy would quickly turn around and was like, I don't care. Like, who cares? And then wisdom is, you know what? Looking around is like, you know what? The toilet paper is running low in the bathroom. Let me go fill it before somebody asks me to do it.
There you go.
You know, that cable needs to be wounded. I got to go do that.
Sure.
And those are those moments where you start to doing the homework is finding a need and bringing value to the table and fulfilling that need.
Wow.
And
wow.
I didn't realize that to halfway of this journey, where at the earlier stages of my career, I started treating people as projects and not people. I would treat people as stepping stones to how can I use up this person to get to where I want to go, and that really just put me in a really bad place. It just put me in a bad position, because then I was also receiving that treatment on my end, and I didn't like it too.
Sure.
So when I started to realize the benefit of giving before receiving, or just giving and bringing value and finding a need and fulfilling that need, I really started seeing things turn around in a huge way. So the homework to me was, what's the need and how can I bring value, even though I am not going to get anything out of it?
Wow. Here, and I love that you said giving, giving before receiving, and how that really takes precedence over how you live your daily life. If you're always looking to give and find a solution and find where to place what your value is, you'll always have a place where you are. I mean, it's like your value becomes always giving. I mean, such a great thing to think about. I hear you talk about you dug in, you did your homework, you work with mentors, but there was a time when I'm sure things weren't always good, and we try to tell people we're chasing the impossible, that you're gonna have a place where you fall. Failure is part of the journey. Where was there a time where failure was part of it for you, and you learned so much from it?
I think that's the most I learned when I come alongside people and I help them take their next step with their music. It's not from the peaks that I teach them. It's from the valleys that I walk through that they learn the most from. It's from those moments that I actually get to share the most experience. It's because of the wrong decisions I made. It's because of the thing of treating people as projects. That mindset is what really hindered me. And so a couple of things were just, making decisions that were more based on the now instead of the long term, because of my desire to just instantly want to instantly be gratified. So, I would make decisions and be like, sure, I'll take that deal, and, I'll work on that track for X amount of money because I could really use that, and not really thinking of, basing a relationship based on what I can get at the moment, as opposed to so I realized from that moment where now I'm like, hey, it's not really all about the upfront check. How can I build a long-lasting relationship with this other person involved? And that's what actually built a really healthy bridge between me and the video gaming publishing company, Ubisoft. And we've developed a great relationship together, in which now they're like, hey, we like working with you because you've got a good head on your shoulder, and we like the way you work, and you're doing some quality stuff. So out of that decision has led to almost like 5 games that I've been able to be a part of.
Wow.
in light of one decision of not trying to what I failed in the past were like, what's in it for me right now, and so not having a game plan for the long-term play. I think overall that's been a big part of my experience, and besides the failures of not being able to taking a lot of things personally, in the sense like, oh, my tracks weren't picked, or my songs weren't used for this, or my things weren't done, and took that personally, and it really just played, just kind of downcasted my spirit, in the sense of things of like, well, I guess I'm just not good enough, and falling into that despair and not realizing, okay, so what? Keep moving.
Yeah.
Make another track, make another song, keep going at it. And so But it took a while to kind of get into that
In
mindset.
those times, we talk about once you identify what your dream is, you're going to need the fuel. You're going to need the reason why. Because sometimes it's going to be tough. Sometimes it's going to suck. Sometimes you're going to feel like, man, I shouldn't even do this anymore. There's got to be an internal reason deeper than, just I want to make money, I want to be somebody, but that keeps you going into that impossible. What do you think your internal reason is for digging so hard to make this happen?
Well, it has changed dramatically throughout the years of working. At first, the fuel was, hey, I wanna make a living off of this. I want to make money, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But as the bank account grows, it just never becomes enough, and so you got to keep going. You got to keep going, and then that guy's making more than you, and then I lost sight of a lot of things. I didn't prioritize certain relationships in my life that I thought they needed to be prioritized for the sake of reaching. I gotta hit that specific goal. Another thing that fueled were some things like, hey, I want to make it to the Grammys. I want to be nominated. I want to go to the Grammys before I was like 24. And I did that. I was able to do that with the work I did on the Yahu album. And that was an amazing blessing. And then once I came from the Grammys, okay, now what? And then so the goal is always moving. It's always evolving. It's always changing. But I think now what's going on in the season of life that I'm in is that I'm seeing such a joy derived from being able to equip and coach and help others who were where I was at 17 years ago take their next step, because I'm getting such a huge joy and delight from that. Sure. That it's putting me in this position, and it plays a big role into why I've even created a platform like Beat Academy, which is a platform that I've created to do exactly that online, to help aspiring artists, musicians, producers, and songwriters to take their next step. Sure. And there's a joy that I'm getting from that. So that becomes the fuel. That becomes the bigger why as to why I'm doing this. Because then it no longer becomes a part of like, well, I'm working on this project because I want to, I want the big paycheck. Mm-hmm. And my worldview plays a big part of it too. And what I mean by that, my worldview is the moral compass in which I navigate through life. Mm-hmm. I grew up Catholic, but then throughout my years of producing music, I came to faith in Jesus, and that really played a big role into my relationship with God and my relationship with others. Sure. And how and so that helped change my paradigm, my mindset as to what really is important. Because at the end of the day, the bank accounts will close, and yes, so if I'm thinking about, if I have an eternal mindset, like what can I do that will last forever, and that's nourishing the relationships that I have.